Let's finish this game. Let me get this. So, where we ended last time, we are here outside what I assume is the final dungeon. I actually don't know for 100%, but we can't have much left because they made it sound like the final dungeon. We're gonna fight Onyx, who's the big bad of this game. We have all of our stuff. Our sword and shield are upgraded. We have... I changed the rings we had after the stream last time because I decided to bring the bomb one, and we already had these two. I wanted to bring the bomb one because I figured bombs might be more useful than... I forgot what we had before. It was like some low damage thing. But we didn't have... We don't have a lot of good rings. So the bomb one was the only one I found that was like, this does damage. It was that or another sword damage one, which doesn't make sense. We have all the pieces of heart we can get. So we're as good as we're gonna get. This is kinda... We're kinda... as strong as we can be at this point. Which doesn't mean this is gonna go well. But here's hoping. It's giving us fairies right away, that's always a good sign. Actually, do we have a potion? Okay, we have a potion as well, which is good. That's basically our bag. Otherwise I would have went and bought one of those. Go in the spooky castle. My shield equipped for once. Hey, fairies. Oh god. Oh god. The door's locked. This is instantly a mean place. I assume we just need to wait for all these to do this. I don't know if my microphone's picking up the incredibly loud seagulls outside. But there are incredibly loud seagulls outside. I'm just very excited for this game. I'm not going in there, because that's just... Can we do that? I'm not falling for this same thing twice. Oh. Perfect. We cheated the game. There's robes. Nope. So our blade spin thing like one-shots these guys at this point. It's in our fairy room. Oh, and it takes us back. So don't go in the side rooms. That's annoying. Go. Okay, so we can go up. Oh god, it's one of these guys. So don't go in any side rooms. Jeez, this guy. Oh, this idiot. I wonder if I have to fight all the mini bosses again? This looks like it's gonna be a big boss run. That'd be... not a very Zelda thing to do. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Easy. And I just remembered I brought that bomb damage ring with me. I just didn't use it on the... Well. Oh hey. There's Den. Maybe this will be way shorter than I thought it would be. We may need to play something else after this. The boy comes, I, Onyx, General of Darkness, imprisoned then and cast seasons into chaos. You flit before me like a fly. I'll crush you. Alright, let's fight this guy. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh god, he jumped over it. Alright. Charged attack works. I don't know why I even tried the boomerang. Yeah, I might do that. I might boot up Oracle Seasons. The bombs work? Nope. I'll probably just do this then so we can jump. This seems to be the way. I think I've been beaten. Can you keep up this fight? Yeah, this is Oracle Seasons. What did I say? Did I say Oracle Seasons for the next one? Boomerang? Not boomerang. So if I hit, then I take damage, which makes sense. Can I move her? Oh. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the other one's Oracle of Ages. I hit her with this? This is hard rod, right? Oh, there we go. Jesus, I'm gonna die. Although I'm not gonna die because we have a potion. Jesus. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, I'll boot up, I built up Oracle Ages after this. That wasn't too bad a boss. Oh. That might not have been the whole boss. Go down here. Oh, I remember this. This is a real, like, Sigma at the end of a Mega Man X game boss fight, if I remember right. Like, you've got to, like, jump on his hands and stuff. I'm done toying with you, I'll show you my true might. Yeah. I remember this boss being a pain in the ass. I was summoned from the Dark Realm by Twinrova, see my true form. Feel the might of a dark dragon. Right, we're gonna need to jump. I don't think we need anything else. God. Okay, that's... That ain't it. Where do we get this head? Not that way. Please stop doing that. I don't know how to avoid that one either. Surely it has to just be... Okay, it's just that. It just doesn't look like it will hit, but it hits. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Don't kill me! Okay, we start doing the fire thing, I need to like... start somewhere in the middle and try and lure it. This is probably not going to be the run. Okay, okay. Oh no, he doesn't actually care about where you are. Small last minute dodge. The fire seems like a real pain in the ass. It doesn't seem like you can actually do that necessarily. Because sometimes it goes in front of you. Oh, I could have landed on the hand there. Wonder if you could just like keep alternating the hands. We'll probably die this time. That's fine. Damn it. Okay. That's fine. Do we have our potion? Alright, let's try this again without a potion, but I might... This might be the only time in this game, for purely laziness reasons, that we use the save state. Because we have enough money to buy a potion, but I cannot be bothered running all the way to the town to buy a potion and then come back. So I might just save state to when we had the potion. Nothing else will change. But we will have a potion. But we'll try without it first. If we don't, we've not used save states at all this entire thing, so it'd be nice if we can finish it without them. Okay. I was kinda almost hoping that they wouldn't make us do this fight again. Stop that. I don't like this weird floor face dude. Like he's weird looking. We're gonna need this. Right. I assume it's too much to ask that this game just lets us... It's just all hearts. Yeah, how much? And bombs? Maybe only bombs for something. Speedy seeds. This may be useful for something. Oh, I meant to actually... I don't know if it's okay. Is the audio in sync? I just remember that sometimes my capture card does that thing where the audio goes out of sync when I first put up OBS for some reason. I'll reset it just in case. Seems okay. Alright, that's fair. I mean, it should still be okay. I've never seen it go out of sync after I've reset it like that. It just seems to be if I have like my console turned on before I open OBS, something that the capture card and OBS don't sync correctly. Right, yeah, we've talked to you before. We know that stuff. Oh god. I didn't realize there was like shrapnel on that. I've never got hit by it before. Phase 1.5. I do kind of like this phase where we're just like mashing din around. That first phase goes by real quick once you know what you're doing. But I like that phase where you're just like knocking din around, just being like, get the fuck out of here. I'll show you my turbite. Dragon. Right, I've seen all this. Get rid of this. We don't need this rod anymore. Nope. Ah, damn it. No. Right, not a great start. Not a great start. That's good though. This is very good. Oh, that's less good. We got two. Let's just hang out here in the fire, I guess. Here's a bullet hell time. Damn, we got hit by a lot of those. Okay. Now I just need to not get hit by anything and we'll be fine. Don't think the shield will block these, but I'm gonna try anyway. Nope. Well, it was worth trying. We got far that time though. That was without a potion. Right, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, it was worth trying, because if we can just sit in that corner and block it with a shield, then that trivializes that whole bit. We need the... Wait, we don't need this. We're gonna need bombs soon, that's what we need. Damn Wizrobe just running down the hallway blasting. Alright. That was not good. It had to happen once, I guess. Come on, stop being invisible. That one out. That one out. Wait. Oh no, there's 3 hands. Done. Easy, and then we need bombs. Oh, damn. That's annoying. We got stuck in the doorway for that second one as well. Got quite lucky with that bomb though. Oh, we got very lucky with those bombs. Alright, boss time. When he said through his speech again. Oh my god, Alex. This is before games let you, you know, press the start button to skip things. Come on. I'm real reluctant to actually try and hit me that thing. Come on. Didn't even throw it that time. Oh jeez, what happened to her? I hit her away with the thing. Well, whatever. Well, even let me pause during that bit. Let's go. Dragon, 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 dragon. He's a dark dragon, so invite Twin Rover. Who's Twin Rover? We'll see them after we finish Ages. Come on, let's get third one. No, not quite, but we're still. Oh, I mean. What are we doing this fire? That's... Why are you all the way up there? You get lost for a second? You knew it was going to happen and we're like, I'm out. Oh, I jumped in his hand at the end of that though. I don't think that's the thing I could do reliably. It's those sick speedrun strats. This is not though. The sick speedrun strat of get hit by every one of these goddamn fireballs. Oh, it's too late. My orders were to capture Den and deliver the destructive power of a seasonless land to Twinrova. Now, Flame of Destruction, that power is set to devour this land. We might just finish the game. We might did it. Owls. That was quick. I thought there would be more of a dungeon. But we did it. Sorry for noise of me moving my microphone now. Thank you, Proto. I knew you could save me. Now that I'm free again, the seasons should return to normal. Look at that. Look at them, they're fighting, they're training. It's all going good now. The trials you face to collect the essence of nature have made you a true hero. And your trial shall call you away soon. But we oracles will always watch over you in secret and hope that the darkness is kept from the hearts of mankind. Hey look, we get cutscenes! Let's return to Horn Village and meet the others. Some nice pixel art. Don't think this is the end. There's a whole other game you have to play. Onyx has fallen, but the damage he has done to this land burns on in the flame of destruction. When his flame lights the dark, our wish shall be granted. And to be continued, an Oracle of Ages. We did it. Let me turn the music up a wee bit. Right, we're back in town, everyone's happy. This is one of the things I did remember about this game, is that it has quite nice art in the credits. Poor Maple. It has all of these kind of like pixel art, like photos. What is that? Oh, that is the exact thing we just saw. That's art of Maple falling off her broom. There's Impa beating the shit out of me. Definitely not just give me a silver area. It kinda looks like Link is grabbing a bad place there. There's maybe some FA art. Hey look, here's a Triforce. Good music as well. Still be mean to the animals. Yeah, this isn't that kind of stream. Keep that for your own streams, Link. This isn't a Mikey stream. You're right. Sound Advisor, K Kondo. Our support. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not going to mispronounce Japanese names. Japanese names like Marcus Krauss. Well, we did it. Look at that. There's German team, Spanish team. A big gap, and then French and Italian team. Gotta keep them separate, you know? They don't get on too well. Oh yeah, this was the EU version. You can't confuse them. This was the EU version, so I imagine if we'd played the American one, we wouldn't have got all of the credits for these translation teams, which is why they're just like stuck on a plain background rather than, you know. Hey look, it's Beltran. He's a guy. Is he still at Nintendo? I think he might still be at Nintendo. Beltrenin. Pretty sure Beltrenen's still at Treehouse. Yeah, he's the Vice President, Player, and Product Experience of Nintendo of America. The only thing I know about Beltrenin is that in interviews where he is being interviewed as well as like Japanese, you know, execs and stuff like that from Nintendo, he will just switch between English and Japanese, and it's the most, like, he seems to just be completely fluent in both, and it's the wildest shit to hear. Like, I've heard, you know, you hear people that know both switching between them, but I don't know, there's something about the way he does it where it's just like, that's incredibly impressive. I can barely speak English. Alright, we need this. Screenshotting this. Right. Just memorize this crash, right? Screen grabbed. Save and quit. So what we're going to do first... Oh, there is actually a to be continued in Oracle of Ages. You didn't remember the code? It was like NQB. I was joking when I was like, to be continued in Oracle of Ages. So, if we... Q64M, done. I don't know. Let's see how close you are. You weren't even close. You got the first two right, but I also said the first two, so those don't really count. Hey, look, Din's on the save screen with us. So, we put this up now. Let me talk to this guy. Say Pro, as Peach returns to Holodrum, so I return to peaceful rest. Okay. We can, though. I wonder if it's worth actually doing... Maybe we'll just go and gather all the codes. Give me a second. Oracle of Reason. Because I think we have to get the codes here first. I guess we can find out. Oh no. We have to do it the other way around. But I guess we can go look. So if we go to the graveyard, I think we'll be able to see somewhere that we can give a code to. And the graveyard is up here? I think it's up here. I think it's like right next to this dungeon up here. If I remember correctly. But I might not. It's right next to one of the dungeons. Oh, no, you know what? It's not. It's where we crashed the boat. You can see at the bottom left there, like it looks like a graveyard. But yeah, we won't be able to do anything yet. But if we go down here, we should be able to talk to someone. Oh hey, Din's here. You're safe. Thanks to you, peace has come to the land of Holodrum. Look, the people are happy. Let's dance together again, Pro. By the way, Emperor received a letter from a homing pigeon and immediately travelled on to Librana in haste, which is the place that Ages takes place. It sounds as if all's not well. What could be happening in Librana? Whatever. We'll say it wrong a billion times. So yeah, that's basically saying, hey, the next game. I wonder if there's anything in Impa's house, actually. Ooh, raid our shit while she's gone. Alright, let's go to the graveyard, because that's where the first secret is. But we're not going to be able to do anything here, but we can at least like put a save state here. It saves us time later. Because what's going to happen, hope you enjoyed me having to spend like 90% of this game in menus, because we're gonna not just spend time in menus soon. Can we go this way? We can go this way. Because we're gonna be switching games repeatedly as well, which is gonna be fun. So there's a grave that doesn't have flowers in front of it. Which this one? Oh, we might not be. Surely we can move it. That's what we do, right? One grave with no flowers, there's someone inside this grave. Hmm. Hmm. I'm sure that should be the right one. Let me double check. Oh. We can't move the gravestone. Here we go. So there's this guy. Why are you in my bedroom? Are you on some errand? Yes. And then you'll put in whatever code you get from Oracle of Ages, and we'll get a thing from it. I don't understand. So we're going to save here. And we're gonna update this.